So, hot on the heels of the Neo, we have the all-new DJI Flip, and considering these are the only two drones that DJI produces that can fly fully autonomously without a controller, you might be trying to decide which one to get. The DJI Neo, an incredibly fun little drone, and one of DJI's cheapest on the market, or should you spend the extra money and get this, the unusual looking new DJI Flip, that is similar in some ways and quite different in others. So today, I wanted to break down the main differences between these two, and look at the strengths and some of the weaknesses of each of these drones so that you can work out which one is right for you personally. I also just wanted to say a big thanks to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video. This is where I go to get all the sound effects and music that make my drone videos come to life. Alright, let's jump right in. And let's start by taking a look at the main reasons you should consider the DJI Neo. Now when it comes to how you control these two drones, as mentioned, both can be flown fully autonomously without a controller. So with the Neo, you can select between one of 6 quickshot modes, such as follow, drone, circle and more, using this mode button located at the top. And it's a similar story with the Flip, again allowing you to select between the same 6 quickshot modes using the mode button on the side. And you can see what mode you have selected on the black panel on the front. Then, with either drone, you simply hold it out in front of you, facing towards yourself, press and hold the mode button, and the drones will automatically perform that maneuver. You can also connect both drones to the DJI Fly smartphone app, allowing you to fly it manually. However, just be aware this uses a Wi-Fi transmission with a rated maximum range of only 50 meters, although you will most likely find the range is even less than that in the real world. If you do want to get a much better range out of these drones to be able to fly them further and higher and be able to fly them with more precision, then they can also be flown with a remote controller. Both drones work with either the DJI RC-N3, that's the controller you attach your phone to, and the DJI RC2, which has a built-in screen. And both these controllers support the much better OcuSync 4 transmission, allowing you to fly the Neo or the Flip pretty much as far away as you wish or legally can. However, the first reason you might want to consider the Neo is the fact that it can be flown FPV. Using a set of goggles, such as the DJI Goggles N3 and the motion controller, you can get this incredibly immersive and fun flying experience. You can also hook up the FPV remote controller and fly in full manual mode, allowing you to do things such as flips and rolls. So if you would like to fly that way, or want a drone more to fly for fun, the Neo might be the drone for you, as the Flip does not have FPV compatibility. At the time of making this video, it's not compatible with any of the DJI goggles, motion controller or FPV controller. Another reason to consider the Neo over the Flip is its smaller size and better portability. The DJI Neo is absolutely tiny, and can even be easily put in a coat or jacket pocket, meaning you can get away without a specific case or bag for it if you wish. I find that if I am just heading out a hike or a run, for example, I can stick this in my pocket and it's perfect for quickly pulling out to capture a few shots with ease and no hassle. Whereas although the Flip does fold down, once folded it's still quite chunky and a good bit bulkier than the Neo, and this kind of puts it outside the realm of just being able to stick in your pocket. Now the Neo has no folding parts, so you don't need to fold or unfold it, again speeding up the process of getting the drone in the air. The Flip, on the other hand, once unfolded, you can see is substantially larger, and because of this, the Neo is much better if you want to fly it in tighter or more compact spaces, such as indoors or in a forest, for example. When it comes to the weight, both drones are sub 250 grams, making them very regulation friendly. However, the Neo is the lightest of the two, weighing only 135 grams compared to the Flip, which weighs 249 grams. So if you like to pack light, then the Neo is worth considering because it takes up a tiny amount of space and adds barely any weight. Now that lighter weight also helps with the next benefit of the Neo, and that's its better durability. This little drone is like a zombie that can't be killed. No matter what you do to it, it just keeps going, and I suspect there's a few reasons for that. Firstly, it doesn't have a very high top speed, only achieving 8 meters per second in sport mode, although that can be bumped up to 16 meters per second if flying FPV in manual mode. Now that lower speed combined with its lighter weight means there's less inertia behind it when you do have a crash, reducing the effects of the impact. Also, although both these drones have built-in propeller guards, the Neos do feel that little bit stronger. You will also notice the gaps in the guards are smaller on the Neo, making it less likely something will stick through them and damage the propeller, such as a branch or stone on takeoff, for example. The Flip's guards, on the other hand, are made up of these rods that protect the propellers from above and below. But as you can see, the gaps are quite large, making it easy for something to jam in there, and this also includes your finger, so be very careful when hand launching this drone. The top propeller guards in the Neo are also detachable, which allows easy access to the propellers to clean or inspect them, for example. Whereas with the Flip, they're fixed in place, and this does make it incredibly fiddly to change a propeller. Crucially though, the Neo's camera sits within the frame, and this protects that sensitive area from a head-on impact. While the Flip features a more complex 3-axis gimbal that does help achieve smoother video, something we'll dive into shortly, the gimbal is still quite exposed. There's not much protection around it, and it actually sits proud of the main body of the drone. So if you happen to crash the Flip head first, the gimbal or camera is more likely to get damaged. I have had more crashes than frankly I care to admit with the Neo, some that in my opinion it really shouldn't have survived, and I winced when it happened, but sure enough, apart from a few scratches, it's still in perfect working order. It definitely feels like the Neo was designed with the expectation that it would be crashed, and because of that, it can handle collisions better. Arguably, the biggest benefit of the Neo is its affordability. Being one of DJI's cheapest drones, you can pick it up for only $199, and this low price benefits from the fact that you can pick it up without a controller. So if you already own another DJI drone and already have a controller, you can benefit from this lower price point. Now if you do wish to fly it with a controller and you don't already have one, then you will need to buy it additionally. And the cheapest option is the DJI RC-N3, that's the controller you attach your phone to, and that comes in at $129, bringing the total to $328. Compare this to the DJI Flip, which is only available to purchase with a controller, which may be unnecessary if you already own one, but regardless, that package, drone and RC-N3 controller comes in at $439. So the DJI Neo is still the more affordable option, whether you need a controller or not. Now another area in favour of the Neo, and somewhat surprisingly despite its lower cost, is internal storage. The Neo comes with 22GB of storage built in, which is good for around 40 minutes of 4K video. The Flip on the other hand only has 2GB of internal storage, which will only hold a few minutes of footage at most, so you cannot rely on that to save the day if you forget a microSD card. However, the Flip does have a microSD card slot, so you can add a high capacity memory card to this drone, and this will allow you to store much more footage than what the Neo can hold. So those are the main reasons why I think you should consider the DJI Neo over the Flip. And if you want to see my full review of this little drone, I have put a link in the description down below where you can do just that. Now just before we take a look at why you might instead want to pick up the DJI Flip over the Neo, if you're looking to create highly engaging videos with either of these drones, then something that is absolutely crucial alongside the footage itself and is equally as important is sound effects and music. Take a look at these clips I captured recently, for example. They look pretty good, but with the right music and sound effects, they transform into something truly immersive and engaging. Let me show you the difference. quite a difference, I think you'll agree. So hopefully you can see that by adding some carefully selected sound effects and music to these clips, you can bring them to life and dramatically change how they feel as you watch them. So if you're looking for a massive library of professional sounding music and sound effects for your drone videos, then I highly recommend checking out Epidemic Sound. I have been using them for years, and they make it super easy to find exactly what you need. From pop, hip hop, electronic, to my favourite, cinematic. There isn't a genre or mood they don't have the perfect music for. And they also have a massive library of sound effects as well to help transform your videos into something unforgettable. One thing that I really appreciate about Epidemic Sound is that they are always updating their platform and bringing out new features to help make your workflow faster and easier. For example, they recently introduced a feature where you can paste a track link from Spotify into their search bar, and this instantly suggests similar tracks that they have on their platform. So, if you haven't checked out Epidemic Sound yet, now's the perfect time. I have added a link to a free trial in the description below, so be sure to check it out. Alright, let's switch over now to take a look at the new DJI Flip and some things that set it apart from the Neo. And the biggest difference between these two drones, despite their design, is the camera quality. And this is probably the main reason you would want to consider paying the extra cost for the Flip. The DJI Flip comes with a 1/1.3 inch f1.7 sensor, actually the same camera sensor as we have on the Mini 4 Pro, and this camera system offers a range of improvements over the smaller half-inch sensor found in the Neo. Not only will you find that the video quality is quite a bit higher on the Flip, but that larger sensor and lower aperture allows the Flip to capture really good low-light footage in contrast to the Neo, which produces footage that is pretty much unusable in the same low-light conditions. If you plan to capture footage at sunrise or sunset, or even at nighttime, then the Flip is definitely the drone you want to consider. The DJI Flip also has a 3-axis mechanical gimbal, in contrast to the 1-axis gimbal on the DJI Neo. You can see here just how the gimbal of the Flip compensates for the movement of the drone. The Neo, on the other hand, instead uses electronic image stabilization to help keep the footage smooth. So in general, you will find the Flip produces smoother footage, particularly in those low-light scenarios where electronic image stabilization usually breaks down. The Flip is also capable of recording at higher frame rates, allowing up to 60 FPS in 4K, or in slow motion mode, you can capture 100 FPS 4K footage. The Neo, on the other hand, can only record up to 30 FPS 4K footage, and slow motion mode drops down to only 1080p at a max of 60 FPS. If you're more into photography and capturing images, it's also worth knowing that the Neo can only capture 12 megapixel JPEG images, whereas the Flip can capture up to 48 megapixel JPEG or RAW photos. Now, if you intend to capture videos for social media, in particular vertical platforms such as Instagram, then the Flip has another advantage. Although neither of these drones' cameras can physically rotate to capture 4K vertical video, the Neo can only capture 1080p 9:16 vertical videos, and this is achieved by digitally cropping in on the footage. On the other hand, the Flip can capture higher quality 2.7K vertical videos. The Flip also has the ability to record in D-Log-M, a flatter color profile that preserves the highlights and shadows better, not only allowing you more flexibility when editing and post, but it also gives you the ability to achieve an image with a higher dynamic range. All in all, you get a much better camera system on the DJI Flip. I definitely think it's one of the stronger points of this drone. And if you're after that higher image quality, then the Flip might be for you. Now the Flip has another advantage. It's the quieter of the two drones. Now that doesn't mean it's a quiet drone, it's not. Both the Neo and the Flip are noisy. And I have found when it comes to the noise that a drone makes, it's the pitch that makes the difference, as higher pitched sounds tend to travel further and remain audible over longer distances. And in that regard, the Neo does make a loud whining noise, which stands out more. The Flip also has a whine, but it's at a noticeably lower pitch. making it that little bit quieter. But just be aware, flying either of these drones in a public area does draw attention. The Flip also comes loaded with more intelligent flight modes. Both drones do have access to active track, spotlight, and the point of interest tracking modes when connected to a controller, but the Flip comes with additional modes, such as Master Shots mode, in which you can select a subject or point of interest by drawing a box over it, and when you hit go, the drone will automatically perform multiple drone moves around that subject, such as droney, zooming in and out, a circle and more, and then once it's complete, it will fly back to you and you will have a complete drone sequence of your subject or point of interest complete it for you automatically. Hyperlapse mode is also available on the Flip, allowing it to create moving time lapses, and it does this by capturing images at various intervals and then combining those still images into a video to make it look as if time is moving faster. And lastly, you also get access to panorama mode with the Flip, which will capture and stitch multiple images together to create an ultra-wide image. All three of those additional modes are not available on the Neo. Another reason to consider the Flip over the Neo is due to its better performance and flight time. So let's start on the performance front. Firstly, when it comes to tracking, although both these drones are excellent at following a subject and maintaining a lock, the Flip can fly faster while tracking to keep up with you if you're doing a faster activity, such as cycling for example. When it comes to wind resistance, although I would say in my experience, both these drones are not very good in anything more than a moderate wind, the Flip does have a slightly higher max wind resistance rating of a level 5 over the Neo's level 4, so the Flip will perform that little bit better on those windier days. But again, don't expect these drones to remain super stable in the air when it's windy. They won't. You will find both these drones move around quite a bit when the wind speed is that little bit higher. And if you are flying on those windier days, you do have to be very careful when using these drones. Another reason to consider the Flip over the Neo is due to its flight time. The Neo only has a pretty low max rated flight time of 18 minutes, which in my experience, depending on wind speed and how much you're flying it around, is actually closer to around 13 minutes on average per battery in the real world. Whereas the Flip has substantially more with a max rated flight time of 31 minutes per battery, although again expect closer to around 23 minutes in reality. If you intend to do quite a lot of long manual flights rather than just using the quick shots, then that extra flight time of the Flip will definitely come in handy. My one sole piece of advice if you're picking up either of these drones, however, is that you will definitely want to pick up additional batteries to be able to extend your flight time when on location. Another reason to consider the Flip is due to the fact it comes with a forward-facing infrared obstacle avoidance sensor hidden behind this black panel on the front, and this allows it to see and brake when it detects an obstacle in front of it only. Now, I'm not going to claim that this obstacle avoidance system is foolproof. In my experience, it's definitely not, and it's certainly not a system that you should fully rely on. It does have trouble with smaller obstacles and can be quite temperamental in my experience. If you would like to find out more, then check out my full review of the Flip, and I've put a link to that in the description down below. However, with that being said, some obstacle avoidance is definitely better than no obstacle avoidance, especially when using these drones autonomously with no controller, as you cannot easily stop them if it's heading towards an obstacle while tracking you. And with the Neo, it has no obstacle avoidance sensors. This means, unlike the Flip, it will not stop itself from colliding with an obstacle as you're flying it around. So there you have it, a quick look at some of the main differences between these two drones, and hopefully this quick rundown will help you make an informed decision should you wish to purchase either one of these. I am curious though, between the Neo and the Flip, which one, if any, would you rather have and why? Let me know in the comments down below. And just quickly, if you have liked this video and learned something new, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you love all things drones, but also action cameras, gimbals and more, and want to know how to get better images and more cinematic videos with your gear, then I recommend you check out my channel where I have a ton of other content to help you level up your game. If you don't want to miss any of my upcoming videos, then I recommend you click that subscribe button down below, and when you're down there, be sure to check the notification bell so that you will be alerted when my new videos are released. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to stick around and watch a few more now, here's a few I personally recommend. I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you over there.